Next up, based out of Michigan, he's an independent journalist that's scrubbing the files of country clubs and local tournaments for what we call sandbaggers all over. Here to explain it all is the man himself, Yip Strickler, joining us on the Course of Life. Yip, how you doing tonight?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. It's great to have you. We connected at the PGA show, which we'll get into in a little bit. But I want to hear a little bit more just about your background before the independent journalism part of your golf career came to be. Where are you based out of, and what's your background with the game?
Well, I'm based out of Dearborn, Michigan. I'm a member at Dearborn Country Club, some place Henry Ford built 100 years ago. Started playing golf really in 2011 when Mama Strickler, my wife, basically made me join this private club because all our other friends were joining it. And she was like, we have way more money than all these losers. Why aren't we joining? I'm like, well, I don't play golf. I'm a bass fisherman. See that up there? I was fishing bass tournaments. That's all I was really doing. And, she made me join this club and started playing golf. Big shocker, I don't have a bass boat anymore because all my money goes to the prestigious private golfing club I belong to. But started playing golf then. I was, I like to think of myself as an athlete. So when I started, I was like a 15 handicap, got down all the way to a 10 that first year, ballooned back up to like a 16 my second year because I tried to teach myself how to hit a cut and it destroyed my life. Took a lesson, got back in just a little bit of gear. I'm currently a 5.4 handicap index, and I am dedicating the rest of my life to protecting the game of net golf.
Well said. Okay, so net golf, for people who don't understand, the idea of a gross score in the game of golf is kind of what you actually shoot. But net is kind of like what the potential score would be with strokes that are given to players to help kind of, even the playing field from a competitive standpoint. So this kind of goes all into that handicapping process. For those of people who aren't part of a country club and don't regularly post scores and keep a handicap, explain what that process is like. And then we'll kind of get into how it can be fiddled with, which leads to some of your investigations as well, too.
Yes. So basically, we have this wonderful system that has been set up by all of the governing bodies across the galaxy when it comes to creating a handicap in the game of golf. It's just like, they had handicaps in bowling alleys, bowling leagues had them forever. Golfers, we've had them forever. Basically, it's just a system that's set up to measure your potential as a golfer. It's not an average score. It is a measure of your potential when you are on the golf course. And basically, in order to come up with a handicap index for each player, you need to submit your scores every time you play golf. And, it is kind of one of my favorite apps in the world and my biggest tagline. I always go straight to the GIN. And it is technically it's called the GIN, but it's the USGA handicap tracking system. You post your scores and it does all the math for you, comes up with different differentials. Your top 8 out of your last 20 are what go towards your handicap. And when it's done properly, it is a fantastic system. I could go and play with, John Rahm over my shoulder, who's currently a plus 9.9, the highest handicap index you can possibly have.
Wow. Okay.
And we could have a fair match as long as I'm doing the right thing and so is he.
That's the key part of this whole thing. And that's where this term of sandbagging comes into play. So for people who haven't heard of sandbagging, it's essentially the idea of falsifying your handicap a little bit, fudging the numbers a little bit, and kind of changing the way your handicap looks. So that way, when it's time to play in these matches and events, you have the benefit of getting a few more strokes. So explain how
you should, and it only takes a couple strokes sometimes. You just have to, just enough, and try not to make it too obvious, because if you do, I find you and then I expose you to the entire world, but it doesn't take that much.
Interesting. So your origin story, Yip, is interesting in how this independent journalism journey came to be. Because of the club you mentioned at the top, I believe, I've got this piece of context that you gave me when we connected to the PGA show regarding Dearborn. but not necessarily the Dearborn that you play at. Is that right?
That's correct. This other course, I believe, is now closed, and I believe it's in Indiana. It was in Indiana. There was another Dearborn Country Club a few states over. The course rating and slope rating at the Dearborn a few states over, the course rating was somewhere in the mid 60s. The slope was down to like, it might have been lower than that. The slope was like a 115. And then at the course that I'm a member at, the slope rating from the back tees was 134. So basically the way this works is our course is rated, much more difficult than the one that was a few states over.
Right.
And this gentleman, now it may have been a complete accident. I've had discussions with him. We don't know. Could have just been by accident. He was posting to this other Dearborn Country Club. But, when you post a 75 to a course that's only has a 115 slope rating, it doesn't really lower your handicap that much. So he was, running around as a 7-8 handicap, and boy, did he have a really good winning streak one year at my club. And until we got into the weeds, I had to set up a little character back then, emailed the pro, made some phone calls, and then we got everything, put in order the way it was supposed to be.
Okay, good. I'm glad that you're policing, and from there, it's kind of grown into a full-fledged brand where you're seeing and interacting with a lot of these stories, and these investigations are coming up now for you as the unofficial handicap police of the state of this internet golf field era that we live in. So, what do your days look like now as Yip Strickler? Are you fielding lots of inquiries for potential investigations, or are you getting the investigations yourself? Well, how does the content and the investigations actually get put together by you?
So right now it's it's almost my off season. So once it gets to be like a few weeks before Christmas, New Year's hits, there's going to be a couple tournaments, but these first few months, even though things are taking place in Florida, Arizona, stuff like that, basically my off season. I'm just kicking back, just preparing for Armageddon, because in a few weeks when it all starts, it's going to be hot and heavy. So basically, originally how it started is I kind of had to search out the tournaments myself. I've talked about it before on several podcasts. Basically, my algorithm, like all the things I follow, it's nothing but prestigious private golfing clubs and boobs. And the private golfing clubs, I'm on there, I'm looking, I'm like, okay, they had a tournament, they'll post the winners. So when they do that and they post the names, I would go do a little research, make sure that they were, on the up and up when it came to their handicap. But I mean, nowadays it's changed a lot, because now this is going on. I started this in fall of 2024. Now most of my work, it's all on tips. So the tips start rolling in, and to be completely honest, I have cases that I sit on. I like to call them legacy cases, where I just keep bankrolling the evidence. I let them win and just let them keep winning until it's finally like, okay, enough's enough, and then I drop the hammer down.
Okay, so there's all different types of hammers and levels of sandbagging that can go on, but let's get to the extreme. Give our audience an example of someone who has just taken this handicap falsifying to a whole new level that you've come across recently.
I mean, where do I start? What I've seen in the last couple of years, it's like I'm not even amazed, and I'm wondering if I've seen all the tricks so far, or if something new is going to pop up. Off the top of my head, some of my favorites are just these guys that just make it blatantly obvious right before a tournament. They just go in and they don't even take the time to at least put different scores in. I had a guy last year that a low single digit handicap, and I believe right before the event, he just posted 10 80s in a row, just 80, 80. And it's like, okay, well, it's possible, right? Anything's possible. He could shoot 80 10 times in a row. I would think that's, I'm a little skeptical about it. The backdating of scores is, something you may need to have some type of special administrator status to see these types of things. But going in and then backdating scores, months before it's August, and all of a sudden he's posted 4 scores back to July, just kind of throw you off the scent. Oh, he's having CDs. That's pretty bad. But I mean, the biggest thing is just not posting scores. I mean, that seems to be the biggest. Their best scores don't get put in the box, and that's basically how you manipulate your handicap the best. If you're a 10 handicap and you shoot a 76 one day, well, that score is probably not going to show up from my investigations in the box, and that's kind of the biggest way that I see these guys. That one's often difficult for me to prove any real manipulation, handicap manipulation, unless, of course, you play in one of these state-run organizations that posts all the scores constantly on the internet, and they might not necessarily auto-post your score to the straight to the game. They may not do that. So those ones, the internet's a wild place, and these scores stay forever. I could see everything that a lot of these guys have shot that are really active net golfers. So those are some of my favorites.
Yeah, and the way that you deliver your content, again, he's at Yip_Strickler on Instagram. If you want to follow these journeys, I love how candidly you go straight to the gin. You're a fact checker through and through. And it really is amazing how these guys who are shooting 88s all over the place suddenly pop out of nowhere with the greatest round of their life when a little bit of money is on the line at a private club. It's amazing how the magic of golf can just get you going one day to the next, right?
Some of these guys, man, they just, for whatever reason, they're just big time competitors. And when money's on the line and PSC, Pro Shop credit, they seem to get the ball in the hole.
It's like those gamers in the NFL. Like, the guy hasn't started a game in 5 years, but no, don't worry. Just get him in the game, give him an opportunity. He'll flourish. Don't worry about the rust or anything like that. I love that. Again, Yip Strickler here joining us, the handicap policer of the internet here, making sure everything is on the up and up all the time, going straight to the gin. And one thing that I just stumbled upon recently, I need to be more up on the handicap procedures, but I did not realize that the 9-hole score doubling over. Explain how 9-hole scores are being used in your world to kind of manipulate how good or bad a golfer is or what their handicap might be.
Yeah. So a few years ago when they decided, okay, we're not going to combine our 9-hole scores anymore. Each 9-hole score is going to get its own differential. Well, in the process of this, they decided that in order to create an 18-hole differential, we need to have something that we're just going to basically just pull out of thin air, and we're going to assume, and it's going to be based on your handicap, that, well, if you're a 10 handicap and let's say you shot a 38 on the front, okay, well, now they're going to assume that, well, this guy stinks. So on the back, he's going to blow up. So this, although you shot this 38 that, for a 10 handicap, that should be a pretty low differential.
Yeah.
Well, the way that they do it, it bumps your number way up. Now, there is ways that it can have the opposite effect, but it's pretty rare. The way that I see these guys do it the most, though, is they'll just, instead of posting an 18-hole score, they'll post 2 9-hole differentials. And each, especially if they're not, lower than what their current handicap index is, it's just gonna bump this number up as they go. So next thing you see, like, okay, well, this guy's, you have 20 scores that count, and you got 14 of them are 9-hole postings. Well, I don't like the way that it works now. And, a lot of these prestigious private golfing clubs, and when they're having their, member guest, they like to do these 5 9-hole matches. Great. Okay. Now I just have a problem with when, you're playing 18 holes in one day.
Yeah.
Why are we posting 9-hole scores? I think that the USGA needs to do something to where if it sees 2 9-hole postings in one day, it just automatically combines them. Something needs to happen because it is giving them an opportunity to manipulate their handicap. Now, like I said, though, there's some rare instances where, if it's a legitimate 2 9-hole scores and, one of your 9-hole scores is, say you shot even par as a 10 handicap and you shot 46 on the back. Well, that even par 36, that would be, it's going to be lower than your differential if you had the full, 82 that you just shot. But I just don't like it. They had a good thing going. I don't know why they like to say it's, for the it's for all the extra 9-hole rounds that we're seeing. We're getting to create people's, they're getting handicap index faster by doing this 9-hole thing. But I mean, between you and I on this, I feel like the USGA has a little bit of a monopoly on this thing. And if they can have any type of algorithm or formula that they don't release, which it is a proprietary formula on how they come up with the differential for your 9-hole scores, that, it kind of brushes away, which I will say the USGA has the best handicap system in the galaxy, so I don't blame them, but it just brushes away these other like 18 birdies and these other guys to where, technically they're not on the up and up if that's the only thing you use to create your handicap for if you wanted to get in different tournaments and whatnot.
Well said. Yeah. And I mean, as far as just the 18-hole golf round journey, I mean, God, the things that can happen after a decent 9 holes to turn it into anything but decent and kind of skew that scorekeeping. Yes. It's like, yeah,
a lot of things can happen. And I'm sorry, like I hate 9 holes. Yeah, 9 holes of golf is just, it's the only time I do it is if I'm playing with my wife and, or maybe my mother too.
Yeah,
those two I'll cut off right at 9 holes.
If you got the time for 18, do it. My analogy is like, it's like going to your favorite restaurant and just like consciously only eating half of your favorite entree. It's just like, you got that whole thing right there,
It's no good.
Yeah. Yep. I appreciate the content a lot, and it's really cool to follow as well. I'm curious, stepping aside into the actual content creation portion of being Yip Strickler. Obviously, the journalism is a job in and of itself. What's it been like stepping into that world where people actually see you and notice you by face and name here as Yip Strickler these days?
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming, a little different than what I'm accustomed to at the PGA show. I was overwhelmed at times with how many, and really the best thing I could do was keep moving. As long as I was moving around in circles, it wasn't too bad. But if I got put in one spot for just a few minutes, I mean, it was just left and right, Yipomaniacs, high-fiving me, doing the Lord's work. I got a lot of that out there. You're doing the Lord's work, Yip, doing the Lord's work, which I do appreciate.
Absolutely.
Very much so. But yeah, it's different. You know what though? I'm a man of the people. That's why I got into this. I want to protect the game of net golf. So I love it. What can I say? I love me some me.
Absolutely. And for an actual, real perspective on what's going on here, you're cracking cases here to where there's actually, like you said, the PSC, the Pro Shop credit, are there cash on the line on some of these member events where people are falsifying scores for net golf? So there's actual hard financial benefits to these practices that we're hopefully cracking down on. So I appreciate your service for that.
Well, I've been flabbergasted by the amounts of some of these Calcuttas across the country at some of these places.
Yeah.
There's one gentleman I did a story on last year. I mean, he won a few $100,000 playing net golf over like a 3-week stretch. Now he was hot. What? I was unable to prove any handicap manipulation. He was just hot. So yeah, there's a lot of money involved in net golf, and it blows my mind.
Fascinating. All right, Yip, let's get to a few fun questions before we wrap up here, talking all things going on with you. Your name is Yip Strickler. That word Yip does resonate with a lot of golfers. Can go one way or the other. It's mostly a scary thing in terms of putting. I got to ask, how are you putting the golf ball these days?
It's the best thing I do on the golf course is putting.
Wow, love the irony there.
Everything else stinks. Like I said, I'm a 5.4. I just hit the ball all over the place. Just try to get it somewhere near the green and see if I can get up and down. That's basically my philosophy. The Yip was, this was all highly calculated. I knew this thing was going to blow up when I came up with Yip Strickler, obviously. But Yip was an acronym for Your Invitational Partner, YIP. That's kind of how it started.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't have the putting yips. Occasionally I could do something funny trying to chip a golf ball, but I don't think I've ever suffered from the yips. No.
Okay. Noted. You're proudly a 5.4, and you state that. Anyone go look him up as well too. He's nothing if not candid with his handicap. The best handicaps of the best players in the world. You mentioned John Rahm is a plus 9.9. Is that the actual lowest possible handicap you can attain? What are the limits on handicaps when it comes to that end?
Yes, that is the absolute best. I'm just going to pull this up because I would hate to embarrass myself.
Yeah, I would be curious too. I'd like to know with your information and your resources what that list of the best actually looks like.
No, so I think you can go up to a plus 9.9. John is currently a plus 9 with a low of plus 9.6. So he's gotten pretty close to the Holy Grail. John does he hasn't had any scores posted since June. So
Jeez, God, what's he doing?
Well, he's playing a lot of golf, but I think he just, they post all his competition rounds maybe at the Whisper Rock. I believe, I'm trying to remember the most you can get, I think, is a 54. I think that's the highest you can be, which also seems insane. That's a lot of candy. If my mother posted scores, she would be near the top. God, I love you, Mom, but you are not good on the golf course.
So I'm keeping a lot of candy. I like that one. That's worth its weight in gold there. Love that. And I know you're a Michigan guy as well too. Tell me a little bit about your course in the Michigan golf scene as well. I've yet to get up there, but it's definitely on my list.
Well, I mean, Michigan's one of the greatest states when it comes to golf, especially, public golf courses. We have some phenomenal public golf courses: Arcadia Bluffs, South Course, Forest Dunes. I need to play this American Dunes place. I don't know if you've heard of that. And there's a lot of good private golf in the Metro Detroit area. It's really key when you join one of these clubs. These guys, a lot of these guys bounce around. So you really want to just make sure you establish relationships with anyone that you think could possibly be a club hopper, because then, you just constantly play private golf. It's phenomenal. It only takes 4 hours. Typically when you go there, they don't accept your money. So that guy's got to pay for everything. It's great.
Love that. Awesome. Well, we always end with our 19th hole question here for all our guests on the podcast. So you get into the clubhouse at your club here. It's been a good day on the course, and it's time for a 19th hole meal and drink. Yip Strickler, what's your order?
Oh, well, if it's for my meal, I'm a steak guy. If there's ever surf and turf on the menu as a special, I'm always surf and turfing. It can be steak and shrimp, steak and lobster, steak and crab legs. I'm a big surf and turf guy. Now, as far as drinks, I like a lot of them. I like a lot of them, and I would love to reveal exactly what I like to drink. But see, I have this little RTD deal that's currently taking place. If you know what RTD is, it's an industry, it's ready to drink. And, this contract is being written up right now. And I don't want to pump anyone up until I get a deal to sign. So you can tune in real quick and hear what my new favorite drink is going to be getting into the 19th hole. But for right now, I'm on the mountains. The mountains are blue. Coors Lights. I don't have a beer one, so I can say whatever I want in that. I love Coors Light in a can. You put it in a bucket with a bunch of ice around it, turn those mountains blue.
Yeah, surf and turf and the mountains are blue. That's a classic 19th hole over there from a classic handicap policer himself, Mr. Yip Strickler. Thanks for joining the Course of Life. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.